Good evening, leaders. Welcome to District 104, another training session today. Let's recognize our District 104 Club Group Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Sara, past District 104 Director and District 104 Training Chair, Distinguished Toastmaster Muhammad Ibrahim Marekar, Division G Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Riyaz Sharif, our SATAC Finance Manager, past District 104 Finance Manager, Distinguished Toastmaster Moidin Sini Ali. Of course, I want to introduce our trainer today. She is nothing but our past District 104 Club Growth Director, District 104 Parliamentarian for 2024 and 2025, Madam DTM Sara Tabassum Ansari. Today, it's a special session, the Parliamentary Procedure. It's not only for the ExCom and council members, it is also for the clubs. It's an essential part of any ExCom meeting in the clubs or even the normal meetings. If someone wants to raise an issue or want to ask something, definitely there is a procedure. They should know what it is. So let's take some time to hear from Madam DTM Ansari and how it's going to be done, how it is going to be officially done, the parliamentary procedure. Let's welcome Madam DTM Sara Ansari. Madam Sara Ansari, the virtual stage is yours.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening once again. I hope everyone is fine.
Good, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And thank you, sir, Mr. Program Quality Director, for introducing me. And thank you, Mr. English Training Chair, for making arrangements for this program. Let me start sharing screen. Okay. Let us start. So we all know that when it comes to anything formal, anything systematic, anything that involves the wider public, we need something such as rules, right? And these rules govern our behavior. They not only make sure we are being given the rights that we deserve, but also duties that we need to uphold. Because what good are rights if there are no duties? In Toastmasters, we make sure everyone is heard and everyone's given due respect and due privilege by ascertaining a certain set of procedures that need to be implemented as we conduct our various programs or our various activities. Now, this is what parliamentary procedure is all about. So first off, whenever there's more than two, there can be a conflict of interest, correct? And then when it's a meeting that we're talking about, and meetings have people from all kinds of backgrounds with all kinds of differences in understanding of procedures, protocols, with different interests to cater to, and so on and so forth. So how do people ensure meetings are smooth? Who gets the first privilege, and who needs to wait for something to take its course? So this is what we're going to find out as we look at the next set of slides. The key word here is fairness and equity. So what are our learning objectives for today? Widely speaking, there are 5. So the first thing that we're going to do is understand what principles govern parliamentary procedures. And then what is the role, what's the purpose in the sense of structured decision-making. We're going to identify key terms that are applicable to the parliamentary procedure itself. Then we're going to talk about the 6 steps that are involved in handling a motion. And at the same time, we're going to visit the different kinds of motions that there can be. We're going to check out some common problems and see how to apply proper rules of debate and decision-making. Any idea how we can define parliamentary procedure? Who would like to read the definition? Do we have volunteers?
You want us to read it?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. The parliamentary procedure is the rules and guidelines used to conduct meetings in an organized and efficient manner, ensuring fairness and orderly discussions.
Thank you, sir. And the purpose itself is to promote transparency and, of course, clarity in decision-making. Now, we also call this the democratic procedure of decision-making because everything is clear and everything is visible and all parties' interests are taken care of. Now, the key principles are basically as highlighted here: order, equality, the rule of the majority, and then the rights of the minority. So it goes without saying that the majority wins. But does that mean that we thrash the minority? Even if it is one person that's holding an opinion contrary to the opinion of the popular majority, that needs to be respected. That needs to be safeguarded, right? So order ensures that all discussions that are applicable to Toastmasters are orderly and structured. So there's no room for chaos here. And equality ensures that every single member that's a participant in these discussions has an opportunity to contribute. But that doesn't mean people just get up and start talking. That means we apply structure, we apply regulation, and we follow a set of rules that we deem are necessary because this is how things should work. This is how we're able to guarantee everyone's interests are being met. So the decisions of the majority are applicable at the end. So it's what the majority wants. But the opinions or the rights of the minorities are preserved. So these can be addressed at some point of time in the future, or decisions can incorporate the concerns of the minority. And this is how we make sure things are addressed. Now, some basic definitions. So you've often heard quorum, especially as we wait for people to arrive during meetings. And over here, I mean business meetings or area XCOM, division XCOM, district XCOM, and councils at these levels. Yes, at the club level, of course, it's your club XCOM's meeting. So when you say quorum, what does that mean? So this is a computed number. There is a required number of people that have to be present. Constitution, these are the organization's fundamental policies. So over here, interchangeably, regulations, policies, principles are going to be used. But then there may be times when one can be seen as a subset of the other. Bylaws are rules that govern internal affairs. And then, of course, to this, you can also add protocols, because a number of organizations are very keen about the protocols and not just the constitution and bylaws. Rules or standing rules. What are the details that need to be considered as we talk about administration in an organization? And then what is a motion? Very often we hear people say, don't just get up and start talking. You need to use the rule of activating or calling for moving this or that. And then who's a presiding officer? Of course, the senior most member at the table, the senior most member in a meeting. And this is the person that's going to see that all rules applicable are observed. Now, when we talk about such a meeting, what exactly can be the structure of this meeting? Where do things start? And then where do they end? Being Toastmasters, we all know that the start of a meeting, even our regular club meetings, for example, is call to order, and the end is an adjournment. Now, what happens in the middle? As soon as the meeting is opened, we review and approve the previous minutes of the meeting or the previous meeting's minutes. That's called approval of minutes. And then we adopt those minutes. If there are any updates or reports that need to be presented, those are then presented. And then if there's any unfinished business from the past, those matters are addressed first. That will lead to any new business that needs to be put on the table. And then, of course, the meeting comes to a close. Now, what is the role of the chairperson or the presiding officer in all of this? Now, of course, the presiding officer has to maintain order and ensure that the rules are followed. That's the main purpose. But also, you will see that there's a procedure that needs to be followed. And this procedure requires people wishing to speak to address the chairperson. And then when that happens, the chairperson recognizes those members so that they're able to go ahead and speak. He should also make sure that the focus of the meeting is preserved, so people do not foray into other things. Everyone's not bringing in everything that's not on the agenda or scheduled somewhere else on the agenda, maybe a latter point first, etc. So this kind of respect for the agenda needs to be preserved. And then the officer calls for votes, and once voting is done, he promptly announces the results. And of course, within the confines of the meeting, he makes rulings on motions and points of order. Now, are there any rules? We know they are. So, on the outset, or very broadly speaking, what are those rules? Can members start speaking as and when they feel like? No. Can they start speaking as soon as they've used the lingo, the language of parliamentary procedure? No. They must wait to be recognized by the chairperson. They must talk only on topics that are relevant to the correct motion. They can't speak indefinitely. They can't speak until they feel their point or points have all been addressed. They're given a specific time slot, and this must be respected. So over here, it's very important for people participating in these meetings to know how to use the time that is given to them. They cannot get personal. They should refrain from addressing other people in the meeting directly. And in terms of content, they should focus on the ideas and not the people. So we said there are 6 steps. How does this work? First, a member makes a motion. Now, this is invalid if somebody doesn't very quickly second that motion. Once that happens, the presiding officer puts the motion before the group. A debate is opened, and the motion is deliberated. There's a vote, and once voting is over, the officer announces the results. Does that sound simple? It is. Okay, so what happens next? We need to understand that there can be different types of motions. It's all too well to say that all the motions are main motions, but that's not true. So you have a classification. There are things that people might want to say very quickly, very urgently. Yes? Some of these might have to do with matters that are not on the agenda, but are nevertheless important. So what are those? Very broadly, we say that there are 3 more motions that are applicable other than the main motion. And that is the subsidiary motion, the privileged motion, and the incidental motion. So a little bit of explanation here. A subsidiary motion, who would like to read the slide? Gentlemen, ladies. If you want to amend what's the motion that is applicable, for example? Subsidiary
motion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So to amend or to refer or to table a motion means put it for later discussion, for example. The subsidiary motion. Now, if there's a motion that has to do with other things, such as this has been a lot, can we quickly take a recess and come back? The temperature of the room is very unideal for our functioning, or something of the sort. What's the motion to activate? Privileged motion. And then the incidental motion talks about the point of order, so on and so forth. And we'll get to the point of order. What do we mean by the point of order? I'll clarify these things in a bit. Okay. So now these over here are points that are not only explanatory, but also incorporate actual technical terms. So for example, one says postpone indefinitely. So this is not just a verb. This is not just an action verb. This is the action, the name of the action that is a part of a subsidiary motion. So it's a technical term, postpone indefinitely. So what does this mean? Yes. People avoid direct vote. And then the presiding officer will let you know what's going to be the next steps. Amend. When you amend a motion, you modify it. Yes, you change something there. The next technical reference is called refer to committee. So if the presiding officer feels there's a need for more information, we're not ready to start deliberating on this, he may sanction sending the case to another group for further study. Postpone to a certain time, consider something later. Limit or extend limits, give a boundary. Previous question, that means stop debating, there's no point anymore, and start voting. Lay on the table, put it aside. Yes? Now, privileged motions. Call for orders of the day, raise a question of privilege, recess, adjourn, or suggest the time to adjourn. Incidental motions. So if you want, or if a member notices that rules are not being upheld, point of order, appeal, misinformation, point of information, and then suspension of rules, objection to something, division of a question. Consideration by paragraph has to do with dividing. Yes, like give a detailed reading. And then division of assembly, distribution of tasks. What are basic rules? Can people open up every topic or all topics altogether, or multiple topics at the same time? There's a check on this. So only one subject may be put before a group at any given time. This is the motion, and this requires a seconding and then voting. And of course, over here, you need to remember that the chairperson will very clearly restate everything, because that is how clarity is introduced. Can you have a negative motion? Normally, this isn't a thing, because all wordings are worded positively. So even if you have to dispose something, for example, it should be phrased as something positive. And then there's an exception to this rule. And then over here, if the governing body is asked to take action on a request and they want to put this on record, because at some point of time, they might need to get back to why the denial was justified. But that is when a negative motion may be permitted. Only one person may speak at a given time. So when a motion is on the floor, the mover of the motion is the person that's allowed to speak first. And of course, this considers the fact that the audience needs to know what's going on, or the participants in the meeting need to know what's going on. And then the person seconding the motion comes up next. The mover of the motion is also the last person to speak, so that people have an opportunity to consider their arguments as they try to oppose the motion or support it. All members have equal rights. Each speaker must be recognized by the presiding officer, intending to speak, that is, right? And then the speaker should make it very clear whether they're for or against an argument. Each item is scheduled, sorry, each item is to be considered for a full and free debate. Each speaker speaks once, and then everyone would have had an opportunity to speak. The rights of the minority, as we mentioned before, are protected, but the winning is with the majority. If you want to have your ideas presented or considered, of course, this is your platform, and that is how your rights as as even minority are preserved. Now, over here are some tips. And I hope these tips will be very useful as you sit down to participate in your upcoming meeting. And if you are a member in the district ExCom or council, definitely it's going to come in handy as we have our annual meetup during the days of SATAC. So would you like to take turns reading the points, ladies and gentlemen? I think it's a good idea. Yes, who would like to start?
Okay.
Yes,
A
sir.
main motion must be moved, seconded, and stated by the chair before it can be discussed.
Thank you, sir. Who would like to be next?
Leaders, someone can open your mic and you can read the second one.
If you want to move, second, or speak to a motion, stand and address the chair.
Thank you, sir. Who would like to be next?
Good evening, Ms.
Yes, madam.
Parliamentary and district leaders. I would like to be the next to read.
Yes, madam.
If we approve the motion as is, vote for it.
Next, please.
If you disapprove the motion, vote against it.
Thank you. Next, please.
If you approve the idea of the motion, but want to change it, amend it, or submit a substitute for it.
Thank you. Who would like to be next?
It would be me, please.
Yes, please.
If you want to advise or information to help you make your decision, move to refer the motion to an appropriate quorum or committee with instructions to report back.
Thank you. Next, please.
If you feel they can handle it better than the assembly, move to refer the motion to a quorum or committee with the power to act.
Thank you. Who would like to be next?
If you feel that there are pending questions should be delayed so more urgent business can be considered, move to lay the motion on the table.
Thank you. Who would like to be next?
It would be me.
Yes, please.
If you want time to think the motion over, move that consideration to be deferred to a certain time.
Thank you. Next, please.
If you think that further discussion is unnecessary, move the previous questions. Move the previous question.
Thank you. Next, please.
If you think that the assembly should give further consideration to a motion referred to a quorum or a committee, move the motion be recalled.
Thank you. Next person, please.
If you think that the assembly should give further consideration to a matter already voted upon, move that it be reconsidered.
Thank you. Next, please.
If you do not agree with the decision rendered by the chair, appeal the decision to the assembly.
Thank you. Next, please.
If you
If-
think that a matter introduced is not germane to the matter at hand, a point of order may be raised.
Thank you. Next person, please.
If you think that too much time is being consumed by speakers, you can move a time limit on such speeches.
Thank you. And then one more person, please.
If a motion has several parts and you wish to vote differently on these parts, move to divide the motion.
Thank you. So, summing up, let's ask some questions. Give me a minute. please. Yep. Okay. So if I want to object to a procedure, will I say point of order or point of information?
Neither.
Order.
Point of order. Thank you.
Ah,
So if I
okay.
want to object to a procedure, I'm not happy with the way something is being handled. So I'm going to ask or activate point of order. Now, if there isn't enough information on something, and I'm not able to make a decision on it because there's not enough information, will that be activating point of order or point of information?
In that case, it's a point of information.
Thank you. Now, if I want to ask for voting by actual count, can I move to divide the house? I want to vote differently. Can I move to divide the house or no?
No.
I can, if you look at the last point here.
Yeah.
If a motion has several parts
Several
and wish
parts,
to
yeah.
vote differently, yes, move to divide the motion or move to divide the house. Okay, fantastic. If I want to spend more time considering something, should I ask for tabling or should I ask for point of information? I want to spend more time considering a matter.
I think it is tabling.
Thank you. That's correct. What about if I want to complain about noise in a room? Someone's drilling something next door. So should I call for point of order or point of privilege? It has nothing to do with the meeting's topics itself.
Point of order. I think it's an incidental motion. Point of order.
Let me restate, please. If I want to complain about the noise in the room, it has nothing to do with what's on the agenda. It's about the noise in the room that's not allowing me to focus on the meeting.
Point of privilege.
Point of privilege. Thank you. Because point of privilege is probably the least used privilege or the least used point in our meetings. Very often we suck it up. We just tolerate whatever it is, even though this hampers our decision making. If we want to amend a motion, do we call for the motion to be amended or do we call for it to be adopted?
Adopted.
Should be amended.
And then amended. We could. Okay. Then we
Should be
need to
amended.
go for the seconding of the motion first. Second, and then
So you're going to the steps themselves. Over here, like I just wanted to talk about what language
Yeah.
you can immediately use. So to amend a
Mhm.
motion, we're going to ask for the motion to be amended. Now,
Yeah.
can we check out the production of a parliamentary procedures lingo? So for example, I want to adjourn. What exactly can I say? How will I word this?
Adjourn the meeting.
Would it be if there are no changes to made, or if we have discussed everything, can be
Madam,
considered
Madam and sir, so we're not over here, we're not role playing the presiding officer's role. We're role playing
Mhm.
the average member's role.
Okay. Then straight away say with this we adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not the presiding officer here. We are somebody in the
Uh-huh.
meeting. Okay, let me give an example. To adjourn, to ask for the adjournment of a meeting, I am going to move the motion to adjourn, right? So I'm going to say, I move that we adjourn. And then somebody
The-
else to this will say, I second the motion. So if we are asking for adjournment, what's the lingo that we're going to use here? Again, can we quickly rehearse this, please? I move that we adjourn.
I second the motion.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. That's very good demonstration. Now, let's say we want to ask for a recess. What will we say? I move that we have a recess and then specify time. So can we repeat this? We want to ask for a recess. How will we do that?
Is it not an incidental motion?
Okay, but over here, how do we what do you call that word
Okay.
as we ask for this? I move
And
that
move
we
time
yes.
limit on.
Thank you, thank you. I move that we go on a recess and then specify the time limit.
Yeah.
Now, do all motions need you to identify yourself before speaking?
Yes, of course.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. So, for example, if it's a point of order or a point of information, yes, over here,
Okay.
so straight away.
All right.
Okay. Now let's go to the next slide. Okay, so these are some scenarios. So, for example, what can an assembly do to correct an action? Can you read the question, please?
Reconsider a motion already voted upon.
Mm-hmm. So what can we do? What are the options that are available to us? Should we rescind the motion, like recall it, or should we reconsider it?
Reconsider.
The recall.
Recall is something that most, parliamentarians would suggest.
Yes.
Because of your correctness is in
Move the-
question. Yes?
Need to
So
move the
over
card.
here- Yeah.
That is not there.
I didn't see him.
Okay. Okay. Wait.
Hmm.
Just check it in the room. Is not there.
Uh,
All right. And then the next one.
you talking to him, his mic is open.
All right, guys. Can a motion be adopted when many people abstain? What's abstention, by the way? Not voting, right?
Mhm.
So you have people that are voting for, and you have people that are voting against, and then you have people that are not voting. So
Still
can a
we
motion-
need the quorum or?
So if a quorum is needed, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the majority prevails, but what I'm trying to say over here is that if it's a non-vote, then it doesn't count. So abstention does not automatically become a positive vote.
Okay.
So it's not like we're counting how many people are not in the negative. That's not the point. The point is to receive votes that are affirmative, votes that are in support of the position.
Yeah, when there is a majority, it can be adopted, right?
Yes, please. The majority should be adopted, but
Yeah.
over here, non-votes cannot add to the positive votes to make them a majority, or to the negative votes to make them a majority.
Okay.
So it's not the number of participants
Oh.
in the room, it's the number of participants in the vote.
Okay.
And then can a member be required to vote on a motion? Can we make it compulsory for people to vote? Like you have to say yes or no. There's nothing else.
No.
Yes, that's not permitted because abstaining is a member's right.
Mm.
Okay. Can a motion be adopted by a plurality of vote? So over here, it means the option with the most votes, even if it's not a majority. Majority vote is if more than half of the votes are required, or if more than half of the cast votes
Okay.
are there. So can we say if 3 candidates run, for example, one person could win just because they have 40% of the votes?
No.
No.
In our case, we go for the vote of the majority, not the vote of the plurality. Thank you. Can a presiding officer participate in the debate?
Mm,
No.
yes and no.
Okay, thank you. That actually is the case, but what do you mean by yes and no, for example?
If the question was being addressed to the person, then the person obviously would have to like give a response, even though if it's a presiding officer.
Okay, so over here, according to what TMI regulations state, the presiding officer normally remains neutral, doesn't participate in the debate because
Okay.
he's charged with
Okay.
overseeing the
Okay.
proceeding. However, if the control for chairing goes to somebody else, then the originally slated presiding officer can join the vote. In exceptional cases, for example, if there's an internal agreement that the chair can participate in the vote, maybe they're short of members or something like that, then that is an exception. Can a presiding officer introduce the motion or any motion, sorry?
No.
No, because obviously the presiding officer's role is to facilitate things, is to oversee things and not directly participate. And then if they want to introduce a motion, again, they should hand over the charge for overseeing to somebody else. Okay, so what is an ex officio member?
Like a previous term officers, we have something like immediate past.
Thank you very much. That's very interesting, but that's not the case. Actually, when I first came across this word, I felt the same thing. Over here, it means by default. So, for example, if you're ahead of something, you're automatically ahead of all the committees and activities taking place under that umbrella. So as a program quality director for the district, for example, you're automatically a part of all the activities that are under your office. So whether
Okay.
it's training activities, whether it's organizing events, even SATAC, for example.
Yeah.
So in the same sense, everything that we're a part of by default.
Hmm.
Do ex-officio members have voting rights?
Yes.
Yes. Again, for example, this needs to be clarified beforehand, because the idea of leadership is to empower everyone and give everyone a chance. But at the same time, leadership understands that there needs to be quality. So if your if the offices under your umbrella feel that your need to participate is instrumental, then and you agree to that, then you can have this arrangement beforehand. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of today's session. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me via WhatsApp or through our district. I'll be very happy to answer your queries. And I did come across lots of visual content, charts and others that are available to us, and it will be my honor and privilege to share these with you. And you can have them readily available for your next executive committee meeting or council meeting. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Thanks to our District 104 program quality team and English training team. Thank you to all the attendees. Assalamu alaikum and good evening.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And thank you very much for your presentation. Miss,
My pleasure, madam. Yes,
we
please.
benefited a lot. Thank you. And I thank the district and the team under the district's leadership for providing these opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam, District 104 Parliamentarian, Distinguished Toastmaster Sara Ansari. It's a really wonderful presentation. In time, you have completed perfectly on the time, 1 hour time.
Thank you, sir.
We like to thank you, and we have many sessions to come, and hope even during our EXCOM and council meetings, it will reflect for our members and the officers, also for our district leaders. From District 104, it's a certificate of appreciation awarded to Distinguished Toastmaster Sara Tabassum Ansari in recognition of outstanding support for the training session conducted about the parliamentary procedure on February 8, 2025. It's digitally signed by our District 104 Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Abdul Hari Hausavi, and Program Quality Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Balasubramanian. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you so much, Madam, and thank you so much, leaders, for joining this session. Soon it will be the recorded session will be uploaded in our District 104 YouTube video, and we will share the link to share with others also. No problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have a lovely evening, everyone.